Well, now, has there ever been a great love in your life?
Well, some years ago on a bus, I sat next to a man in a dark night, and he was so nice.
I see.
We held hands and we talked and we smooched a little.
Oh, you did, you see.
Yes, we did. I'd done it, I'm glad.
Yeah, I see. What was his name?
I don't know. He didn't say. I called him Lover Boy.
Lover Boy.
He was so nice.
Yes. When did you see him last, this Lover Boy?
Oh, I guess it's 7 years now.
I see.
Yes.
Well, you've had more than your share of misfortune.
Yes.
Yes.
Known a nice fellow?
Well, I've met some interesting men around you.
Yeah?
Yes.
Introduce me?
Yes. Maybe you'd like to meet Bobby here.
What does he look like?
Well, he's sitting right over here.
Yeah, my goodness, that's Lover Boy. Help.
Lover Boy, the man who has an affair with the Midwest, Bob Braun.
Hi. Thank you very much for allowing us these few moments to tell you about what the 50-50 Club is. Our show is different. We try to make it different than any other television program on the air. Sure, it's what you might call a talk show. We do have interviews. It's a variety program because we do have variety. But our show is different than the everyday run-of-the-mill talk or variety show, either one. To begin with on the program, we have a family, and I'd like to spend these next few minutes introducing you to ours and also to the guests who stopped by. For example, recently we had a plastic surgeon on our program, and he talked about breast surgery. And Rosemary Kelly, who's with me every day, and Marion Spellman got into the act. Watch what happened.
For example, many years ago, paraffin was used to inject into defects. And then they called a moratorium on it because they found out that patients later in life developed what was known as a paraffinoma. In other words, a local tumor irritated by the paraffin.
You would surround it, I guess.
So when they began injecting Teflon, they decided let's wait 10 or 15 years and see what happens to these people that have had it injected. Well, the time has passed, nothing's happened to these people. As I started to tell you before, there are several techniques for doing this thing. First, you've got to divide them into those that require augmentation to increase the breast size, and those that are done to destroy tissue, to decrease the breast size. To what? To decrease it.
Oh, my. Isn't he
Well,
funny? I'll never get over this.
I never This happens in people.
Is that right? Like they do in New York with going to Stockton and Braun place.
No, this happens in, today there's a great road to lose weight.
Mm-hmm.
And some of these ladies that have lost weight develop long pendulous breasts. And they want that removed. And the excess tissue can be removed and removed very safely.
Well, you do take a pleat.
I really don't think you have to worry about that. But Marion Spellman is really a kook. Of course, the kooks on the program are not just those of us on the couch. We've got a few in the band, too. Fellow who plays trombone. Everybody who watches us regularly knows his name. It's Eddie Bennett. Got one of the greatest faces you've ever seen. Sings a pretty good song, too. Right, Ed?
Oh, man, time. You got fall in love and then not over. I swear not over. That nasty old man. Yeah.
Meanwhile, back on the couch, the other day we had author Gwen Davis on the show. She's written a book called The Pretenders. It's about number 5, going up to number 1, I suppose, on the bestseller list, and it's a pretty hairy novel. It's about sex is what it's about. And we had her on, interviewed her, and Rosemary Kelly and Nancy Dawn's reaction to the interview and to Gwen Davis were less than positive. Take a look at this conversation and you'll see what I mean. But that's great. I didn't know you had it.
Well, you know, there's some books.
I'm not gonna pick on you.
Listen, when I get that German temper.
You wouldn't let your daughter you wouldn't have that book around the house for your daughter to.
I certainly would not. By heavens, no.
Would you keep it above the apartment in your house?
And she's a lot older than I am. I would not. No.
My wife won't even let me subscribe to Playboy. You think you got problems?
Oh, come on, you sneak a copy in there. A lot of this is in the way we're raised. Why wouldn't I read that book? Because I was raised to believe differently.
May I take a moment to congratulate your parents?
Kids being raised today with this being the number bestsellers, what else? And Bobby, I know that these things exist and that. The thing, and I know she has a marvelous educational background. I've also taken journalism in college. I would really like to have gotten into it with her.
Mm-hmm.
I realize that I'm also capable of writing a book. Now, I admire you. You had written a book, and you wrote every word of that book yourself.
I went to Ludlow High School.
Yeah, well, I mean, you know, you are writing.
You know, my brother said.
Now, but there's no sex in it. It just tells about you. I don't know if it'll be a
that comment. He says, there's no sex in it. It just tells about you.
Well, I don't mean you are. You are.
Oh, you don't think I am?
Well, you are.
I'm glad Rosie doesn't feel that way.
Well, certainly that's your wife. I'm your friend.
Let's shake hands.
I mean, I think that you have a charisma, and you do. You're not the...
Wait a minute. Come on. Right there, Rose.
I feel very silly standing on Marion's back, but Marion, if you were here, you'd say the same.
Yes,
You're
Rose.
not too sexy from this standpoint.
I can make the same comment, but I'm not going to. As you can see from that conversation, we don't always agree with the people who are on our program. Nancy Dunn is of today's generation. You've just met her along with Rosemary Kelly. Nancy talks like today's generation, she looks like today's generation, and she sings like today's generation.
Never fall in love again.
Recently, we were in Columbus, Ohio for a remote telecast of the 50/50 Club. The night before the program, we stopped in a college hangout for Ohio State University and heard a very handsome young man sing. Great talent. We were so impressed with him that we invited him to be a guest the following day on the 50/50 Club. The mail just poured in. It seemed that the ladies loved to hear this young man sing. Since that time, we have signed him to a contract with AVCO Broadcasting Corporation. He also has been signed with AVCO Embassy Records and is going to sing the title theme for a new Jackie Gleason motion picture. But in addition to that, he's a regular member of our family, too, Dave McCoy.
The sun gets out and heaven, the crossroads I'm standing on. Or maybe it's the weather or something like that, 'cause baby, you've been on my mind. Baby, you've been on my mind. You've been on
On our show, we don't treat the commercials, the people who support the program, as unnecessary evil, but rather the commercial content of the 50/50 Club is treated like program material, treated as just as much a part of the show as the songs, the interviews, and the members of our family. We try to present the commercial products in a good light, not just in a haphazard, everyday, or interrupting kind of manner. And I think you can get an idea of what I'm talking about from the way we display Kahn's Delicious Wieners, for example. Food products tastefully served present an eye-appealing, taste-tempting sight, which makes Mrs. Housewife say, that might be something good for our menu. Every day, our home economist prepares attractive food serving displays, which complement the sponsor's package, whether it's a steaming cup of Folgers coffee or an appetite-tempting plate of Nabisco graham crackers. Yesterday we started a new campaign for Kahn's Meats, and we're very proud to be a part of the Kahn Meat Packing Company. We've talked about Kahn's for years, and practically every show I've ever had on radio and TV, they've been one of my sponsors. And Kahn's, as you well know, makes the best wieners you can buy. They have a slogan called Kahn's the Wiener the World Awaited. Well, now you're going to hear a lot of the fact that Kahn's thinks you're the greatest, and I'm sure that little Karen, when she grows up, will think that her mom's the greatest, and I'm sure that Miss Ruth, who dances on our show, thinks her mother's the greatest, and the lady who swipes down front, I think that she probably, her family thinks she's the greatest, and that's why they'll think you're the greatest at your house when you serve Kahn's, because they're the best. Now, you can buy cheaper wieners if you want to, but why do it when you find that Kahn's really puts the right ingredients in there? Kahn's uses not one or two, but 3 different kinds of meat in their delicious all-meat wieners. They have one for flavor, one for tenderness, and one for juiciness. And you can taste that delicious difference in Kahn's. So the next time you're shopping, make sure you reach for the greatest and make sure your family thinks you're the greatest by buying and serving Kahn's delicious wieners. Corbett, you ought to work up a little song about that. Kahn's are the greatest.
It's the greatest. It's the greatest. K-A-H-N-S.
Oh, isn't that something else? Our boys, you're the greatest. Yes, sir. We're talking about ad-libbing commercials and showing you how we fit the commercials into the program. And right now, I'll bet you that you might be thinking, okay, he ad-libs commercials, fits them into the program. How do you do this every day? How do you keep it fresh? How do you keep from getting into a rut? Well, I'll tell you exactly how. Seated right out there, Monday through Friday, for an hour and a half, I have 140 writers who know how to help me do the commercials. What's your name?
Charlene Heck.
Where are you from, Charlene?
Well, my address is Dayton, but I'm from New Ludlow, Ohio. We live right on the borderline.
And you're here in Cincinnati. You may go to Ludlow after the show. Tell me about you and Woolite. Have you used it?
Yes, I have. And I like it very much for sweaters that you can wash by hand but don't have to be dry cleaned, and for blankets, and especially now with the weather getting more cool, it's time to get blankets done up.
Do you find that the powder or the liquid suits your needs best?
I like the liquid.
You choose that?
Yes.
May I ask why?
Well, I think it's easier to use. Both is very easy to use, but I just prefer the liquid.
Woolite does a great job on those sweaters. They hold their shape. You don't have to do a lot of wringing and rubbing. It just lifts the dirt right out. And honestly, my wife would not be without it. I think she'd trade me in before the Woolite, to tell you the truth.
I bet she wouldn't.
These 140 writers I'm talking about are also salesmen for us. And after the program each day, we sample many of the items we do commercials for, like, for example, Puffs, Del Monte, and other things. And the people who come to the program take these products home in a very attractive shopping bag. Hours after our program is over, these can be seen in downtown Cincinnati, and days and weeks and months in downtown anywhere in the tri-state area. Of course, the audience and I, we don't do all the commercials. From a woman's point of view, there's Rosemary Kelly. Rose, sell some puffs for me, will you?
Very well, Bob. That's easy. Boy, do we rely upon these at the Ohio State Fair. And really, all times you can rely upon puff and puff prints. You know, puffs still do come in the solid colors, but they also have the very, very pretty prints, and they're more absorbent than ever. And that's for all of your facial tissue needs, because they are, well, they don't tear or shred under normal strain and stress, except Marion does at times wash them, and they come out. You get a second using them. They are great, but the colors are so pretty, and they do blend and harmonize with your bathroom decor. And really, there's a puff print, and it's just right for any color scheme in your home, as well as the solid color puffs. So don't forget puffs from Procter.
Thank you, Rosemary. You met Marion Spellman, the kook. Now we'd like you to meet Marion Spellman, the singer. She's just as at home with a comedy number like Secondhand Rose as she is with an aria from Aida. Just as at home on our program as she would be on the stage with the symphony orchestra. And when she sings, it's the sound of music. Marion looked as if she were singing right there in the hills. This is because of our special effects equipment with which we can bring the outdoors inside. But we don't always rely on technical equipment to do that. When something's going on, the 50/50 Club is there. We were at the inauguration, for example. We took the whole show on a ski expedition. We went to Greenfield Village in Detroit, Michigan, to the caves of Mammoth Cave, all the way to Hawaii. And recently, in our area, well, all over the world for that matter, the big news was the first man on the moon. Wapakoneta happens to be in our area. When they had the giant homecoming for the first man on the moon, Neil Armstrong, 50/50 Club was there. A wonderful parade and an opportunity to meet this gentleman in person, find out what he was really like, and to bring this information to our viewers. And we got very well acquainted not just with Neil Armstrong, but with his charming parents, Mr. and Mrs. Armstrong, who told us that they're regular viewers of our show. They became very good friends, and 2 days after the Neil Armstrong Welcome Back Home parade, they surprised us by dropping in at the show. Other guests recently, Teresa Graves from NBC's Laugh-In, the Zany Vagabonds, the Reverend Bob Harrington, the chaplain of Bourbon Street. We have the Holmes High School Band as we block off 9th Street in downtown Cincinnati. Metropolitan Opera star Cheryl Mill. The entire West Germany Olympic boxing team. Dr. Lyndon Smith, author and child psychologist. From Kansas, we have the Kashawi Indian dancers. Very interesting guest, Artie Johnson. The Four Lads. Bob Crane. And another McCoy, this time the real one, Clyde that is, and his singing dove with the gold teeth. Abby Dolphin. William Shatner from Star Trek. And Gordon McRae. Quite a variety, I'm sure you must agree, but I would like to point out all of our guests are not movie stars, recording artists, and personalities of that type. We also have some very interesting people on the program the gals really go for, people who get down to the nitty-gritty, the meat and potatoes of everyday living. For example, one of the most important subjects to women today, we have found, is diet. And how can I take inches off? There's an author who is a doctor and who has a bestseller called Inches Off. He was here the other day and told every one of us we were fat. Huh, Doctor?
Well, you're about 30 pounds, 35 pounds overweight as far as I'm concerned.
30 pounds?
Yes, and if you don't want to be that large group that sort of men in particular, see, between the ages of 35, 40, 45, and 50 years of age who are just dropping off like flies. It's for the men that they have to be very careful about any weight that they carry around.
I mean, some of these ladies who are here worrying about themselves better start thinking about Dad a little bit, too.
That's right. There's no question about that. They are always outliving the men. There's no two ways about that.
Flipping coupons, getting the insurance.
That's right. They retire as soon as they get married and so on. Yes, that's the job. But that's not the point. The truth of the matter is that when the female child is born, it has a very thin little artery. Whereas the male, when he's born, he has 3 layers of arteries, so he's got 3 strikes against him instead of the 1 strike against him. So he better be careful about what he eats. At no time should he overeat from early infancy until he reaches 90 or 95 years.
But what do you cut out? I like potatoes. I hope by now you have an idea of what the 50/50 Club is really all about. But before I turn this over to your AVCO representative, I would like to have one final word. This is the day of mini. Mini skirt, mini this, mini that. And I'd like to show you a mini version of a recent 50/50 Club. Who's believing he'll look Kane Tuck menu living of our Hawaii. I told you that. Scotch in you.
And maybe only you get this.
Sort of wrap it up. Look at her. She's a little girl from the dentist.
You just did, Bob.
So Simon choir, and we can reason to blow her. Her book is today. In the New York Times
Wakes me in. What we now call Braun's in.
What about the in there? Letters, the customer like that. Your mouth. Food, I know. This fits, but the menu. Good. And actually, we'll have some good chance. Our guest is, that's Bob Heath, to talk on the weather. And that's what tasting your communistic for tomorrow. I broke my wrist to the camera. As her birthday, one of these work, we do the pub and nightclub. No, we direct them. Good to have you back. Same club. Young people buy pure honey tune milk, checking on the and you can't.
Don't forget.
Thank you, Rose. Something Rose, that's how tablets. The 50-50 Club is an AVCO color presentation.